The year was 2023. A live television broadcast was underway in the United Kingdom, drawing millions of viewers across the country and beyond. The stage was set for another audition night on Britain's Got Talent, a show known for discovering extraordinary talent. The lights were bright, the audience was full of anticipation, and the judges sat ready, expecting another series of performances. Everything seemed routine, predictable, and familiar. Then, a young boy walked onto the stage. His name was Malakai Bayoh. His appearance was simple and calm, without any dramatic introduction. He did not try to draw attention to himself. He stood quietly, waiting for the music to begin. At first glance, nothing about the moment suggested that it would soon become one of the most talked about scenes of the season. As the music started, Malakai took a steady breath. The theater was still filled with low murmurs, the kind that usually fades slowly as a performance begins. But the moment he sang his first note, everything changed. His voice was clear and controlled, carrying a depth that did not match his young age. It was not just technically strong, it was filled with emotion and discipline. The reaction inside the theater shifted almost instantly. The audience grew silent, not out of politeness, but out of genuine focus. People leaned forward, drawn into the performance. His voice moved smoothly through each note, showing training and natural talent at the same time. It felt less like an audition and more like a professional performance. The camera moved across the judges' table, capturing their reactions. Amanda Holden appeared visibly surprised, her expression reflecting disbelief at what she was hearing. Alicia Dixon watched with a soft smile, clearly impressed by the control and emotion in the performance. But Simon Cowell remained still, his face unreadable, his attention fixed completely on the stage. As the performance continued, Malakai's confidence grew. His voice became stronger, more expressive, filling the entire theater. There was a sense of vulnerability in the way he sang, as if each note carried a deeper meaning. The audience responded emotionally. Some were already wiping tears, while others sat completely still, absorbing every moment. This was no longer just another audition. The atmosphere had shifted into something rare. The performance created a connection that went beyond entertainment. It reached something deeper, something personal for many people in the room. When Malakai reached the final note, it rang out clearly and then slowly faded into silence. For a brief second, the entire theater remained still. It was a moment of pure pause, where no one spoke or moved. Then, almost all at once, the audience erupted into applause. The sound was loud and overwhelming. People stood up from their seats, giving a full standing ovation. It was the kind of reaction reserved for performances that leave a lasting impact. But even in that powerful moment, something else began to stand out. The cameras returned to the judges, focusing again on Simon Cowell. His reaction was different. He did not immediately smile or speak. He did not lean forward with excitement, as he often did during strong performances. Instead, he remained quiet, his expression serious. There was a pause before any words came from him. A longer pause than viewers were used to seeing. For someone known for quick and direct feedback, this silence felt unusual. It created a subtle tension in the room. The audience noticed it. The other judges seemed aware of it. Even viewers watching from home would later point it out. There was something in his expression that suggested a deeper reaction. His face showed focus, but also something more difficult to define. It was not simply admiration. It felt more personal, as if the performance had affected him in a way that went beyond what the audience could see. The moment remained calm on the surface, but underneath, there was a clear shift. The attention was no longer only on Malakai's performance. It had moved towards Simon Cowell's response. People began to wonder what had caused such a reaction. The camera briefly showed Malakai again, standing quietly on stage. He appeared composed, unaware of the deeper impact his performance had created. For him, it was simply a moment to sing. But for everyone watching, it had become something much more significant. As the applause continued, the sense of curiosity only grew stronger. This was not just another successful audition. It was a moment filled with emotion, questions, and an unusual reaction from one of television's most recognized judges. As the noise in the theater slowly settled, one thing became clear. Simon Cowell's reaction suggested that there was something far more personal behind that moment. Malakai Bayoh was not an unknown name before stepping onto that stage in 2023. Behind the calm appearance and powerful voice was a young performer with years of training and discipline. He was born and raised in London, a city known for its rich musical culture and historic connection to classical performance. From an early age, his connection to music was clear. It was not just interest, but a natural ability that began to develop quickly. His journey into music started within a structured environment. Malakai became a chorister at St. George's Cathedral in Southwark, one of London's important religious and musical institutions. This role required more than just talent. It demanded strict training, daily practice, and a deep understanding of vocal control. Choristers are trained to perform complex pieces, often in Latin or traditional compositions, which require precision and discipline. Through this environment, Malakai's voice was shaped carefully. He learned how to control tone, breath, and emotion. His performances were not only about hitting the right notes, but also about delivering meaning through music. This type of training is rare for someone his age and gave him a strong foundation that set him apart from many young singers. As his skills grew, so did his opportunities. Malakai performed with well-known choirs and orchestras, gaining experience on stages far beyond local settings. He became associated with the London Oratory Schola, a group recognized for its high-level choral performances. These experiences exposed him to professional standards early in life. He also performed at significant venues and events, where audiences expected excellence. Each performance added to his confidence, but also to the expectations placed on him. Being part of the classical music world meant maintaining a high level of consistency. There was little room for error. Despite these achievements, Malakai remained a young performer facing real pressures. The world of music, especially at a professional level, can be demanding. Young talents often carry the weight of expectations from teachers, audiences, and the industry itself. Every performance becomes important, and every mistake feels larger than it is. His appearance on Britain's Got Talent introduced him to a completely different kind of audience. Unlike classical venues, this stage was global, unpredictable, and highly competitive. It was not just about technical skill anymore. It was about connecting instantly with millions of viewers who may not be familiar with classical music. This shift created a unique challenge. Malakai had to bring his disciplined background into a format designed for entertainment and quick impact. He had to translate years of structured training into a single performance that could capture attention within seconds. At the same time, his story added emotional depth to his performance. Viewers were not just hearing a trained voice. They were witnessing a young individual carrying years of effort and dedication. His calm presence on stage reflected not confidence alone, but preparation shaped over time. For many watching, this background explained why his performance felt different. It was not accidental. It was the result of years of quiet work behind the scenes. Every note carried that history. Yet even with all this preparation, the moment on live television brought a new level of intensity. The pressure of performing in front of judges like Simon Cowell, along with millions of viewers, created a situation unlike anything he had experienced before. And while his performance showed control and strength, the reaction it triggered suggested something deeper was unfolding. Because even with his extraordinary background, nothing could have prepared him for what would happen during that unforgettable broadcast. Simon Cowell had built a reputation over decades as one of television's most recognizable and controlled judges. From Pop Idol to The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, he became known for his sharp opinions and calm authority. His reactions were usually direct, sometimes critical, and rarely emotional. Viewers had come to expect consistency from him. By 2023, his presence on television followed a familiar pattern. He listened carefully, observed performances closely, and delivered feedback with confidence. Even during powerful auditions, his responses remained measured. emotional reactions from him were rare, and when they did happen, they were subtle. This is what made the moment during Malakai Bayoh's performance stand out so clearly. As the final note faded and the audience responded with applause, the focus shifted toward the judges. While the other judges reacted with visible excitement and admiration, Simon Cowell remained unusually quiet. His posture was still, his expression serious, and his attention fixed. There was a noticeable pause before he spoke. This pause was not typical. It felt longer than usual, creating a sense of tension in the room. For a judge known for quick responses, even a few seconds of silence carried weight. It suggested that something deeper was happening internally. When he finally began to react, his demeanor remained different. There was no immediate shift into enthusiasm or critique. Instead, his expression suggested reflection. It was as if he was processing something beyond the performance itself. Viewers watching at home began to notice this change. On social media, clips of the moment quickly spread. People replayed his reaction, trying to understand what they had just seen. Many pointed out that his body language seemed more emotional than usual. Others focused on the silence, describing it as unusual and significant. In the world of live television, small changes in behavior can carry strong meaning. Judges are constantly observed, and their reactions often shape how performances are perceived. In this case, Simon Cowell's response became a central part of the moment. There are many reasons why a performance can affect someone deeply. Music has the ability to connect with personal memories, emotions, and experiences. Certain voices or songs can trigger feelings that are not always visible on the surface. In a live setting, these reactions can become even more intense. Industry experts often explain that live performances create a unique emotional environment. There is no editing, no second take, and no distance between the performer and the audience. Everything happens in real time, making reactions more genuine and harder to control. This context adds another layer to Simon Cowell's reaction. It suggests that what viewers witnessed may have been a genuine emotional response, not a planned or staged moment. His silence, his expression, and the timing of his reaction all pointed toward something unexpected. At the same time, no clear explanation was given during the broadcast. There were no direct statements that explained why he reacted the way he did. This lack of clarity only increased curiosity. The audience was left to interpret the moment on their own. Some believed it was purely the power of Malakai's voice. Others felt there might be a personal connection behind the reaction. But without confirmation, the moment remained open to speculation. What made this situation even more compelling was Simon Cowell's long-standing image. For years, he had been seen as someone who maintained control, even in emotional situations. Seeing a shift in that image, even briefly, created a strong impact. It reminded viewers that behind the public persona, there is still a human response to powerful experiences. As discussions continued and clips spread across platforms, one question remained at the center of it all. As discussions continued and clips spread across platforms, one question remained at the center of it all. What exactly caused Simon Cowell to react this way in that moment? Because the real reason behind his emotional response may not have been visible to the audience at all. The moment did not end when the broadcast moved forward. In fact, that was when the questions truly began. Viewers had seen the performance, and they had seen Simon Cowell's reaction. But what they had not seen was everything happening beyond the cameras. Live television shows like Britain's Got Talent operate with complex production systems. Multiple cameras capture different angles, while producers manage timing, audience reactions, and judge interactions. Not every detail makes it to the final broadcast. Some moments remain off-screen, unseen by the public. After Malakai Bayoh's performance aired, attention quickly shifted toward understanding what might have happened behind the scenes. Interviews, backstage reports, and media discussions began to surface. While no single explanation confirmed the exact reason for Simon Cowell's reaction, several insights provided context. One important factor was the nature of live performance itself. Unlike recorded segments, Live shows carry a different emotional intensity. There is no pause, no editing, and no distance between the performer and the audience. Every sound, every reaction, and every moment is experienced in real time. This can create stronger emotional responses, even for experienced judges. Another element to consider was the environment inside the theater. Audience reactions, lighting, and acoustics can all influence how a performance is felt. What viewers hear through their screens is often different from what is experienced in the room. Malakai's voice, described by many as pure and powerful, may have carried even greater impact in that live setting. There were also suggestions that certain conversations or moments may have taken place off-camera. Contestants often interact with judges or production teams before and after their performances. These interactions are not always shown, but they can shape how a moment is experienced. However, without confirmed details, these possibilities remain part of the broader discussion rather than established facts. Media coverage added another layer to the story. News outlets and online platforms began analyzing the moment in detail. Short clips circulated widely, focusing on Simon Cowell's expression and timing. Each replay brought new interpretations. Some described it as a rare emotional reaction, while others highlighted it as a reflection of the performance's depth. Social media played a major role in expanding the story. Viewers shared their thoughts, theories, and emotional responses. Comments range from admiration for Malakai's talent to curiosity about what Cowell might have been feeling. The moment quickly moved beyond the show itself and became part of a larger public conversation. At the same time, the lack of a clear explanation kept the mystery alive. Neither the show nor Simon Cowell provided a detailed statement explaining the reaction. This absence of information allowed the moment to remain open-ended. In many ways, this uncertainty made the story even more powerful. It turned a single performance into an ongoing discussion. People were not just watching what happened, they were trying to understand it. The focus was no longer limited to the stage. It had expanded into the space between what was seen and what was hidden. The difference between the broadcast and reality became part of the narrative itself. As more viewers revisited the moment, one idea became clear. This was not just about a performance or a reaction. It was about the unseen layers of live television, where emotion, experience, and personal response can intersect in ways that are not always explained. And as the discussion continued to grow, the story began to take on a much larger meaning than anyone had expected at the start. What began as a single performance on a television stage quickly expanded into a global moment. Within hours of the broadcast, clips of Malakai Bayoh's audition and Simon Cowell's reaction began spreading across the internet. Platforms like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook saw millions of views as audiences from different countries watched, shared, and discussed what had happened. The speed of this reaction was significant. In today's digital world, moments from live television can travel instantly, but not all of them leave a lasting impression. This one did. Viewers were not only impressed by the performance, but also deeply curious about the emotional response it triggered. The combination of talent and mystery made the moment stand out. Public reactions varied, but many shared a common theme. People described the performance as powerful, moving, and unforgettable. Some focused on Malakai's voice, calling it rare for someone so young. Others focused on Simon Cowell, pointing out how unusual it was to see him react in such a quiet and emotional way. Media outlets also picked up the story, publishing articles and analyses about the moment. Headlines highlighted both the performance and the reaction, turning it into a topic of wider discussion. Entertainment experts noted how rare it is for a judge's response to become as important as the performance itself. For Malakai Bayoh, the impact was immediate. His visibility increased dramatically. More people began searching for his previous performances, learning about his background, and following his journey. Opportunities in the music world often grow from moments like these, where exposure reaches a global level in a short time. At the same time, the moment brought renewed attention to classical and choral music. Audiences who may not usually engage with this genre were introduced to it through Malakai's performance. It demonstrated how traditional forms of music can still create strong emotional connections in modern entertainment settings. Simon Cowell's image also experienced a subtle shift. Known for his composed and sometimes critical persona, this moment revealed a different side. It reminded viewers that even experienced figures in the industry can be affected by genuine talent and emotion. This added a layer of depth to his public identity. As days passed, the moment continued to circulate. Reaction videos, commentary, and discussions kept alive. Each new perspective added to the overall narrative, turning it into more than just a single event. It became a reference point for powerful performances on talent shows. Despite all the attention, one aspect remained unchanged. The true reason behind Simon Cowell's reaction was never fully explained. No detailed statement clarified what he felt in that exact moment. This left the story open, allowing viewers to interpret it in their own way. In the end, the impact of that night extended beyond the stage. It showed how a single performance could connect millions of people, spark global discussion, and leave a lasting impression. It also demonstrated the power of music to reach beyond words, creating emotions that are felt but not always explained. And even as the world moved on to new moments and new stories, one question continued to remain. What did Simon Cowell truly feel in that moment? And will the full story ever be revealed?